Welcome back to the vlog, ladies and gentlemen. On this week's episode, we are going to be finishing up our roll bar swap on Project Miata. If you watched last week's episode, we removed the HardDog Extreme roll bar that I had in there previously. And today we're going to be putting in the HardDog HardCore. Or maybe I have that backwards. Maybe we're going from a hardcore to an extreme. I don't really remember what they're called, but the new roll bar is going to be going in. So enough talk, let's get to it. Alright, so we got our new roll bar mounted in the car. This one, the rear legs sit way farther back, so I had to grind some more back here on both sides. And you got to be careful when you're coming in with all of this wiring. Let's see if you can see down here. You can see one of the old holes from my old roll bar right there. And then the leg for the new one is all the way back here. So this one definitely sits further back into the trunk. My front holes look like they all line up. So should be able to get the front reinforcement plates and bolts in pretty easy. And then we're gonna have to get the rear holes mocked up, drilled out, and then installed. So that's our next step. Let's get to it. Alright, so we've got our roll bar sitting in the car. We've got our hardtop back on. I'm going to be putting the front bracket back on. As you guys can see, my old holes still line up, so it's just going to be a simple matter of putting the bolts through, holding the nut on the back, and tightening them up. In the rear, we are going to have to drill some new holes, so I'm going to show you guys how to do that, how to line up the plates where they should be, and then we're going to tighten the front plates up on both sides, and we're going to drill our new holes in the rear and get that on. Alright, so we've got our bracket in here on the other side of the car. I've got my impact gun inside with a 9/16. I don't know if the bolts are standard or not, but my 9/16 socket fits nice, whereas my 14 seems to get stuck on the bolts. So I'm using that. Got my 14mm wrench back here to hold them, and I'm just going to hold the nuts while I zip it in. Alright, now that those are all tight, we're going to repeat and do the same on the other side. Alright guys, so heading in the back of the car, we're in the trunk now. We can come over here and see where our rear leg is and where we're going to need to drill our 3 holes. On this side, it's behind this little splash shield, which I'll show you guys how to take off in a little bit. For this, we're going to be using a right angle drill or 90-degree drill. I have this Milwaukee one here. If you don't have one at home, Harbor Freight sells one for like under 20 bucks. It's a plug-in one. It works pretty well. I have one of those as well. It's just over at my parents' house. So I borrowed this one from a coworker, and I'm going to be using that. So we're going to drill our holes, and then same as the front mounting points, we're going to run our bolts through, tighten everything down. Now, one thing you do want to make sure you do is get all your bolts and all your mounting plates and everything in, and just finger tight first, and then hammer everything down, because otherwise the bar is going to start to kind of move in weird ways as you tighten and pull the bolts in, and it's just going to make it a pain in the butt to get some of the other bolts in. So just finger tighten everything first and then tighten it down. Alright, so even with having the right angle drill, it's still really tight to be able to drill the holes from the top. So there might be a template online to where if you go in from the bottom, it's going to tell you where exactly to drill the holes and be spot on and everything. And you know, it is always important to measure twice, cut once. But in this case, I'm just gonna wing it and cut as many times as I need. So if you guys can see in there, the roll bar comes right up to about this little lip around the rear shock tower, I guess you would call it. So I'm gonna go on the underside, come in about an inch from where that rear lip is, drill, and then come back and see how I did. So coming down here, you can see you have your rear shock tower. It ends right about there where I'm pointing. I'm gonna go about an inch in, so kind of maybe about to this body line right up here, and I'm just gonna drill it. Alright, so fourth time's the charm. This was my original hole, which was too far out and too far back. So then I tried to line up our guide plate thing right up against the edge, and I ended up making this hole, which was too far in and too far forward. So then, you know, at this point I basically knew about smack dab in the middle between these two holes was going to be perfect. So I drilled my one hole, which was only a tiny bit off, and then I drilled another one here, and we are spot on. So what I'm going to do now is put a bolt from the top in and get this bracket mounted up, because with the bolt in that way, we'll be able to drill our two other bolts, and they should be pretty good. Like I said, I'm sure there's probably a template online somewhere where you can see exactly where to drill and you don't have to kind of do guessing holes. But since I've already had another roll bar installed, which sat more forward, I've already got kind of a bunch of holes down here that I'm not really concerned about. I can always get them welded and filled in later, or just kind of leave them and they'll just be drain holes in case my trunk ever gets water in it. So for now, like I said, we're gonna stick a bolt in through here, just finger tighten it, drill our two other holes, and then repeat on the other side. Alright, so we got our holes drilled on the passenger side, our bolts are through, we got our nuts finger tight. Now we're gonna come do it on the left side. As you can see, there's some fuel lines, and the fuel filler neck runs from the driver's side, so they have this little shield here. The first step should be to remove the 3 plastic clips, 1, 2, and the third one's in there. And then once those clips are out, the carpet will come out. As you can see, my clips are missing, and I guess if you actually have a full-size spare and your jack and tools, you should get rid of that, or not get rid of that, but get that out of the way as well. I don't have any of that stuff, so voila, our carpet is out. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 10s. So we're gonna take those out. Once those 4 10s are out, this comes out of the way. And now we can see our other roll bar over there. Just a quick tip. Ugh, I can't speak today. If you have a Miata as well, an NA, and you kind of smell like fuel vapors, gas vapors every once in a while, just like a small hint of fuel, check these 2 hoses back here. They get old. As you can imagine, these cars are old, and they get hard and cracked, and then they let the vapors out, so you get that faint smell of fuel in the cabin. I already replaced mine, I can't even remember how long ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, a little after I first got the car, because I had that faint fuel smell. Haven't had it since, so it's also an easy repair if you do it. Got, you know, 2 clamps on each hose, pull them off, replace them, boom, done. So same thing on this side. We are going to guesstimate our holes, drill it, and get it done. You guys already saw me do it on the other side, so I'm not gonna film this side as well. I'm just gonna muscle through it and get it done. Alright, so we got our holes drilled, all our brackets in. We tighten up all our bolts, both for the front and the back brackets. We are now going to start putting everything back together. We're going to start with our wheel liner here, which was 410s. After we get our wheel liners in, we're going to get our wheels back on. Then we're going to come back into the trunk and get that panel back in, bolter back in. And then we put the carpet piece back in. Voila, trunk is back to normal. All right, everybody, so our roll bar is in, and now before we put the carpet and trim and everything back in, like I said, I replaced this fuel pump cover a couple of years back, and there was some rusty bolts that I couldn't get out. So I now have an impact screwdriver, which is basically kind of just a screwdriver. You put it in the screw and then you hammer it, and when you hammer it, it pushes down and twists, which is meant to help get out rusty and stubborn screws. So I'm going to hopefully take those old screws out and then put the cover back on with some new screws and eliminate that rattle I've been having. Alright, so we got the old rusty bolts out and we got some new bolts out. I used the impact driver and I was able to get one of them out. The other two were so rusty that there was basically no head left on it. So what I ended up doing was I got a Dremel with a cutting bit, cut a slit into them to basically turn it into like a flathead screwdriver bolt, and then I got my flathead in there and unscrewed them. So now with the new bolts and everything tightened down, I should hopefully not have a rattle anymore. We're going to put the rest of the rear shelf carpet and that little metal plate back, and then we'll be done. Alright, so we have our rear shelf carpet back on. We put that little metal panel that I didn't have to trim anymore. The carpet I did have to trim some more. I kind of just cut to make it fit. I didn't really care about making it look nice. You'll never really look back here anyways. If you do care about appearance, then, you know, measure twice, cut once. I just cut a bunch of times. So we're gonna put our hardtop back on, bolt in our hardtop brackets, and we are done. Alright, so as you guys can see, the Miata is back outside. We got our hardtop on. Everything's bolted in. Our new roll bar is all done. So that is going to pretty much wrap up this vlog. You know, like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We got a lot more stuff we're going to be doing to our Miata. I have a Flying Miata Stage 2 clutch that needs to go in. Then we're going to turn the boost up, get it retuned, make this thing faster. I got Flying Miata frame rails that are going to go in. I got, I think, energy suspension bushings all the way around. I actually got them used and already installed on control arms, so we're just going to be doing a quick control arm swap. all around. Mazda speed motor mounts, a lot of stuff, a lot of other maintenance issues that I've just kind of been putting off on it too. So there's going to be a lot on this channel in this car. If you guys can see the empty spot with dead grass over there, that is going to be the project that we are going to be working on our next vlog. So stay tuned to see what that is. And then our G35 is out there. I ended up fixing it and driving it. It drives fine now. I've actually been dailing it a couple days this week. What ended up happening was the flywheel and the crankshaft has a dowel, but the flywheel on the back of it has 4 holes where that dowel can fit into. I ended up putting the flywheel on in the wrong hole, so the crank sensor would not pick up the trigger sensor from the flywheel and wouldn't start the car. I actually ended up dropping the trans again, changing the flywheel position, putting the flywheel back on, and then it still wouldn't crank, so I was still in the wrong spot because the written tutorial that I had found wasn't very specific. So then I ended up just finding a YouTube video that I will link below in case you run into the same situation, and he showed me which dowel it's supposed to go into. I put that in, put the trans back up, car fires up perfect. No more check engine light since we replaced our oxygen sensor. So like I said, I'll try and link that video below in case you guys do a clutch swap or a transmission swap or something on an Infiniti G35 or Nissan 350Z and you end up having an issue where it doesn't start. You'll know that it is because your flywheel's in the wrong spot. But that is going to be it for this video. So like I said, like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We got a lot more videos to come. I'm going to try to do weekly uploads. Usually Saturday is what I've been doing. It kind of works best for me with my schedule. So yep, that's going to be it.